All right, Bill here from Maple Leaf Enterprises. It is Friday, end of the week, and it has been a good week. And we are going to stick to the security theme here. And what I'm going to do today is I'm simply going to demonstrate how to enable unified auditing. Unified auditing is pretty slick. There's a lot of different things we can do in unified auditing in the database. There's policies, and we can implement a really strong auditing function in the database. But in order to do so, there is a pretty intrusive change that we need to go through in order to enable unified auditing. So I would not by any means recommend that you do what I'm about to do on a production system. Make sure you're doing it in a development environment. And if you're doing it on rack, you're going to need to repeat these steps for each of the databases that you are going to do this to. So just be aware of that, and do not do this one in production. Unless, of course, you want to get called by everybody in your organization screaming at you that something is down. So you're going to need to take the database down, and you're going to also need to take the listener down. What I would recommend you do is just go in and copy. I have a little file that I created here called Unified Audit, and it basically has the steps involved. I would recommend you do the same, just so that you kind of get your plan in place on what the procedure is. From SQL Plus, you're going to be running select value from $V option where parameter equals unified auditing, right? We're hoping in this case it's going to be false. In fact, I know it's going to be false because I did not enable this. We're going to stop the database. We're going to stop the listener. We're going to go into the Oracle Home RDBMS Live directory. And then we're going to remake the Oracle kernel to enable unified auditing. And then we're going to start up the listener, start up the database, and then we are going to select from the options that are enabled, and hopefully it will come back to true, and then unified auditing will be enabled on the database, and then we can do all these slick things that you're allowed or able to do for a unified auditing mechanism. And you're not going to be able to use any of the unified auditing functions like creating profiles and auditing columns and securing things like that unless you do this. And it is intrusive, so I will tell you that you're not going to want to do this ad hoc and just go willy-nilly. I would advise you go through the change process, right? Dev, QA, however it's structured in your organization, that you do it on a couple of boxes before you actually get to production. So anyway, we're going to run SQL Plus, and we are going to go into SDBA, and then we are going to run our script. We were going to say, and because I am lazy, I am just going to go ahead. I'll type it out. Why not? You could actually have this in a SQL script by itself. And I can't spell. It's great, isn't it? But we all are, you can run this in, if you have SQL Developer, obviously, you can run it in there. If you have some other GUI tool that you feel more comfortable with, that's all well and good. What I would do if I was doing this for a customer, I would probably take a little bit more time, and I would actually script this into like a shell or bash script that would actually go in and do this whole thing, spool it to a file, right, log file, and then I would have, kind of a record of what I did, and that's probably what I would do. In fact, that is what I would do. if I was doing this for a client. And this isn't something you do all the time too. So like once it's done, it's done. All right, so now we actually know that it's not enabled. Now, if it's set to true, you're not going to have to do any of this stuff. That means it's already enabled and somebody already went through the pain of doing it, and hoorah for you. You don't have to do all the other stuff. So now we have to just shut down the listener and the database. So we're going to start, we'll shut down the database, we'll shut down the listener. All right, so we'll get out of SQL Plus, and we'll use server control, stop database-d ME2, which is our database. Now, this is going to hold true for even your rack databases. You're going to want to change, shut them down in this fashion. What's funny is that there's somewhere, and I believe in the documentation on Oracle in this, they actually tell you to shut down the database in SQL Plus. I guess if you're not using grid infrastructure or you're not using ASM, you can do that. But if you are using grid infrastructure, which I am here, and this is a little single instance database, and I have grid infrastructure, you're going to want to do everything through grid infrastructure because you have to do it through grid infrastructure because Oracle actually wants you. All right, so those two things are down. We're going to want to change now. We're going to go into the Oracle_home. RDBMS and the lib directory, okay? So, and then we're going to want to verify we're in that directory. Now, because I'm really lazy and I don't want to retype this, and I have very, very fat fingers, I am just going to go ahead and copy this, and I am going to paste it, all right? So we're going to run this make command. It's going to rebuild the Oracle kernel. So I'm going to go boom, and it's going to go through all this stuff, and it's going to make me bounce back in my chair like, oh, what's going on? But it's really not a big deal. It's just a relink, and it's basically relinking my Oracle executable or a kernel, and it's enabling the unified auditing. So don't get nervous. It does take some time. It actually has to go in and run. It runs off the C libraries. So, give it time and don't panic and don't quit out. Do not quit out on this, right? Let it go. It may not even be a bad idea to no-hup this thing so that it runs in the background. So in the event you get knocked off your session, okay, so that's another thing, right? It would be the same command, but then you would just do no-hup in front of it. And I point this out because, sometimes we are, and I know sometimes as far as me, when I'm working with customers, sometimes their VPNs are not, they're not too swift. So I don't want to get knocked off in the middle of something like this. And just to be safe, you just do no-hup. And then just, so it would be no-hup, pretty simple, Unix type, Linux type of thing. And then you'd want to run it in the background, like that. And then if you want to get slick, you can actually, pipe it out to a file and that type of thing. But I want to get into that now. So anyway, so now we have our kernel remade, right? Good old kernel standard. It's actually Ray Liotta now, the new kernel, speaking of KFC. So you're going to want to start up your listener, right? So we're going to do, we can actually probably just go back and look at our commands, and instead of stop, we are going to start. And our listener is going to come up. Now, one other thing while I'm doing this, if this errors out for any reason, or you get some kind of weird, code or something, and it says it was unable to compile, or anything of that nature, you're gonna try it again, but don't bash your head against the wall on that. You're gonna want to open up a ticket right away with Oracle. Don't play around with trying to figure out why this did not compile. All right? Don't mess around because you're dealing with the C libraries. There's all these other things that are linked within here. Don't play that game. Trust me, I've been there. You're not going to figure it out. Chances are if you go in and whatever error it spits out, it's going to be something that has to do with file permissions somewhere, chances are. And you're never going to be able to go and figure it out on your own. And most likely Oracle's going to say, here, go back and go change the permissions on that Oracle file that you just, right? They'll go back and say, well, the permissions may not have been set right on that to re-execute it. So just be aware of that. And that if it does error out, that's most likely the issue is the permissions, but Oracle will tell you what they are. And in fact, I could probably even find a document on it. You probably will put it in Oracle support and it'll spit back, or you can get Burleson and he will actually plagiarize that for you and act like he came up with it himself. So now everything's started. We're back. And so hopefully now when I do this, and I can actually be the cut and paste king that I love to be. All right, this should say true. And then we are ready to go with Unified Auditing, and we can have field day. And then, you know, again, I'll probably get into another video on how we can go ahead and do all these slick things that we can do with Unified Auditing. And there you go. Okay, so now Unified Auditing is enabled and we can do all these really slick things that we're able to do that we couldn't do otherwise. Okay, so there you have it. Hope that helps. That is the tip of the day, and that is a big one because you know, security is becoming the thing right now. And auditing is going to be a big part of it. You're going to want to audit some key things in your database, social security numbers, that types of things, dates of birth on people, employees, salaries, all things that you're going to want to audit. There's going to be audit functions that are needed. So hope that helps. That is the tip of the day. I know that was a little long-winded, but hopefully I got in under the 15-minute threshold. Have a great weekend and hope to see you back again.